What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It's Arsiney. Let's get productive. So this week I get to talk about something that I've actually never talked about on this channel. It's a company that is fresh to this channel, but not fresh for me. I use their products all the time. I'm sure most of you have heard of UJAM. Specifically UJAM strings. I use their strings all the time. Their string instruments sound crazy, but UJAM is just synonymous with making not only really great VSTs visually, that where aesthetically it looks super pleasing and super cool, but just sounds that are super live sounding, but have an extra added flair and an extra added aggressiveness. It's like taking a live orchestra via Hans Zimmer and pairing them up with a EDM DJ and getting them in the studio together to create a VST. That's what a lot of their instruments sound like. It's like live meets electronically aggressive sounding, hard hitting stuff. So I'm actually shocked myself that I haven't brought any of their VSTs to this channel, but I recently came across one of their VSTs that I had to bring to this channel because I love how this thing sounds. Now, the name of this VST is Braaass. Kind of like Braaass. Like, so it's B-R-A-A-A-A. There's maybe another A in there and a few S's, but it's brass. And it's all brass instruments, all live orchestrated brass instruments with a bit of a twist. It's a lot you can do in this thing. So without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. Braaass, UJAM. Let's see what this thing is all about. So, as always, I have Logic queued up, and this is Braaass. Now, like I said, this is a company that dives deep into bringing you a very live sound with all of their instruments. They have all kinds of different instruments. If you was to go over to their website, you would see everything from strings. They have a drums instrument. They have synthesizers. They have all kinds of really cool creative things, but the common theme in their instruments is having complete control over, kind of like having complete control over your own orchestra, but with the effects and all of the different things you can do to tweak the sounds inside of these VSTs, you can really electronically push that live sound to a new dimension. So if we were to dive into what's happening here with Braaass, I mean, just looking at this, you can already see that they care about the products that they make. I mean, this thing looks super clean. This is someone that's taking their resources and putting it to work in the right way. This thing is beautiful. In all of their VSTs, the UI design is really beautiful, but I specifically like how Braaass looks. I love the neon green glow in the title, Braaass up here. I love the grayish tones to it. I like how the knobs look lifted off the VST. It looks like it's real. It looks like you can like reach into the screen and touch it, and I love that. It's just a really great design. Now, if we dive into what's happening inside the UI, it's a lot. And I'm not going to even waste your time. I'm not going to go through every single effect and every single setting and every single thing that they have inside of this instrument, because you can do so much with this instrument. What I'm basically going to do is take you through a lot of the different presets so you could just hear right off the bat if the sounds in this thing are the type of sounds that you would go for or that you're looking for. And I'm also going to take you through a few of the features inside of this thing. And then I'm going to show you the cookup that I made using this. So like I said, if we just look at the screen here, just to take you through a few of the obvious things that are happening on the screen here, you have two different sound engines. Now you have your low brass section and your high brass section. So you have everything that's going to give you that sub heavy, hard hitting brass on the left. And then you have things that are going to brighten your sound up and really make it sound sharp and really pierce through. It's really that difference between the live sounding brass horns that we know and love, that we hear in a lot of Hans Zimmer's scores for film and stuff like that, versus something synthetic sounding. Now you have a character knob, you have a motion effect knob, and you can change all of the different things in your character effects, everything from a telephone to a radio. You have your high pass filters, you have punch, parallel compression, so many different effects that you can add via the character effects. Over here on motion effects, you have everything from a ping pong delay to chorus, flanger, phaser. So the difference between character effects and motion effects, obviously, motion effects is going to provide some motion to your sound. Character effects is going to provide some character to your sound. And when you blend those two things together, you could take some of the samples that are inside of that specific sound engine and tweak them to your liking to kind of create a whole new instrument or a whole new sound to that instrument. Now you have your focus EQ and you have your shaper, and this is going to shape the sound that is in that sound engine. You have your crossfade knob here, and this is the knob that you push and pull to blend between the low brass section and the high brass section. You have a highlighter section and an ambiance section. And then over here on high brass, you have the same effects and the same EQs that you have over here on the left side. Now over here in key, you can change the key to your instruments. Over here on the left, you have your style section. And this is where you can go through the different styles and rhythms of your brass. So you have everything from basic brass, and that's where you can get short attacks. You can get cinematic stabs. You have all these different types of brass instruments. Then you have rhythmic, and this is where you can literally hold one key and get a whole rhythm out of some of these brass. And in that section, you have everything from cinematic riffs to orchestral riffs, all kinds of stuff. Like I said, you can really reach for the live sound when it comes to this instrument, and you can really kind of score your own thing. Like if you're working on a short film or an independent film or a major film, you can score using this kind of instrument because the sound is so live and there's so many different variations of ways that you can play the sounds inside of this thing. Down here at the bottom, you will see that it breaks your keyboard up into sections. So this is where you're going to kind of create your own orchestra right down here. All the way down here at the lower end of your keyboard, you have starting from like C1 on up to C2. In C1, you have your phrasings section, you have your bass notes section, and you have your play range section. So as you can hear when you hit the play range section, you can play out an entire symphony if you wanted to just by hitting one note on the keyboard. And I do want to say that all of this stuff is tempo sync, so no matter what the tempo is in your DAW, this is going to sync to that tempo. Down here, you have your bass notes. And over here, you have your phrases, and as you can see, if you play around with the different phrases, it changes the speed and kind of the phrasing of the instruments. But these are all different things that you can play around with. You can go over to style and change the style of the instrument. So you can go to, let's go to rhythmic. Let's go to orchestral riff. Really, really cool stuff. So up here at the top is where you have your presets, and you can go through some of these presets. Like I said before, you have your high brass section and your low brass section playing at the same time. So for example, if I was to turn off high brass, it'll just be the bass section. And you can hear very easily just how clean the brass and how live the brass sounds inside of this instrument. It's very, very clean, very cool sounding stuff. And that's basically it as far as the straightforward aspect of using this instrument. Like I said, this instrument is a great tool and it can do a lot. So what we're gonna do right now is go through some of the presets and check it out. I forgot to mention that you can save your presets as well. So anything that you do over here between the low brass and the high brass and any kind of changes that you make to any of the sounds, you can save it and create your own presets. So we're going to start up here at the top, and we're going to start to the introduction section of the presets. And I'm not going to name every single preset. I'm just going to go through a bunch of different presets so we can hear how some of the sounds sound inside of this thing. So we're going to start right here. And like I said, you can go between the low brass and the high brass if you use crossfade, so you can kind of blend it how you want. You can play around with finisher. And you can play around with the type of tone and aggression you're going for right underneath finisher. So you can go to glitch and put retro gamer on. So finisher is where you can really add some attitude to your sound. Really cool. You can play around with the ambiance. You can play around with the highlight. And there's some really cool effects that you can do to any one of these sounds to really bring them out and kind of make them your own. So we'll go over to the next sound in the presets. Really cool stuff. Really nice. And we can go over to experimental. So as you can hear, really cool, really live sounding brass instruments, tons of categories, tons of presets. it's like endless what you can do with the live sounding brass inside this VST. Now, what I want to do right now is I'm going to get right into the pickup. I'm going to show you guys a beat I made using Braaass. Now, the beat I made using Braaass, I call it an R&B trap type beat. That's primarily the type of beats that I make. But as you could hear from what I was doing earlier in the video, you can use this instrument for any genre of music. I love VSTs that are open to all genres, or you can just use this VST to score an entire film. Like you can really do really cool things with this VST. So it's not just a trap VST or a hip hop VST, but if you're a hip hop producer and you're kind of on the fence about this instrument and if it's something that'll work in your workflow, I'm about to play the beat that I made using this VST, and you can be a judge for yourself on what you think you can do with this thing. Now, all the horns you hear inside this beat are coming directly from Braaass. So this is what my beat sounds like using Braaass. Let's check this thing out. So that's it. That's the beat I made using Braaass. Now, like I said, this is an instrument that I've been using a lot lately, but let me know what you guys think. Is this something that you could see yourself adding to your arsenal? As always, if there's any new plugins or VSTs that you'd like to see me bring to this channel, leave it down below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to get to it as soon as possible. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can stay notified anytime I drop a new video. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.